How's it going, YouTube? My name is Dave. Today I wanted to bring to you a video about airsoft. I ordered a particular gun and it's awesome. It's the Cheytac M200 Intervention by 6mm Pro Shop off evike.com. Now, for one, this thing is incredibly heavy. It weighs in shipping weight at about 19.10 pounds. And what I found are some issues that I wanted to talk about. Not necessarily the gun in particular, but with some information about the gun that could be detrimental to when you're on the field using it. So for one, I wanted to go over how the gun comes in the box. So for one, you have a, I personally got the CO2 with the scope model off evike.com in dark earth. Right now it's on sale at $609 versus the regular MSRP of $809. As for why that is, I'm not 100% sure. I can only speculate. But right now, like I said, I want to go over some of these things. So for one, in the box, you get, with this package, you get a Matrix 3 to 12 by 50mm scope. Which I have found is awesome. It includes a lighted reticle system, so you can switch between red or green at varying different brightnesses for each, which is super cool, and batteries are included. It's already put together, everything. Next is the CO2 bolt itself. That's the primary purpose of this video. I noticed on Evike they only kind of went over I don't remember if it actually showed the video the bolt coming out or not. But for those of you who are not familiar with this gun or who are looking to purchase this gun, this is something you're going to want to know. For one, changing out the CO2 cartridge is actually quite a bit of a job. It takes about 2 different Allen keys, or 3 in some cases, and it takes about 5 to 10 minutes just to do it. So what I'm going to do is walk you through that. Because as much as this gun is amazing to have on the field, you might want to make sure before every game you have a new cartridge. So I digress. Originally I was starting on putting a packaging list together. So for one, you get this hard case here. It's really cool. It definitely helps with carrying things around. It's fairly decent. I mean, it's a little flimsy. It's not like a Pelican case or anything like that. But it has a egg holder style padding to it, and it does protect it fairly well. It does what it's supposed to do. It has 4 sliding locks on it, 2 on each side of the handle. And then also you get a owner's manual. Sorry, you also get an owner's manual. It really only tells you how to assemble the bipod. It tells you how to adjust the hop up, which is located, in this case, under my scope. Now, the good thing about this scope that it comes with, this here detaches, like so. So even with the scope on, I'm able to access the hop-up, which using my smaller Allen key, you can go right here, okay? So, now that's with the scope, the mounting rings, the back one mounted on the very back ring, which for me being a tall and lanky player, I am about 6'2", it works best for me because I have to have the stock all the way back. I am a 4-year Army veteran, so I'm not some newbie at shooting. So anyway, like I said though, the biggest issue here is, in fact, the bolt. I really don't have a whole lot bad to say about this gun except for the bolt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through what to do with this bolt, how to change the CO2 cartridge in it, and so on and so forth. So first we have to start off with the basics. Here you will see there is a plate with a small screw in it. That is an Allen key screw. You have to take that out first before anything. Like I said, I did not find any instructions on the internet with this, so I figured it would be a good idea to make my own. So you start by taking out that Allen key, or Allen headed screw. So that way, what that does, I'll show you how it works here in a second. Once I actually get the screw out. But what it does, it's a retainer for the bolt, in a way. So what you do is you take this screw out here, okay? And I just kind of leave it right there, because I only use the one other Allen key. Now, I did have an issue with this bolt. I actually had to do my own little machining to it, because one of the screws did not quite agree with me. The original screws that are in here, for any of you who are familiar with bolt sizes, so on and so forth, it's a metric screw. It's one of the kinds of screws that the Allen is depressed into the shank of the screw itself. So they can be finicky if they're not good quality, and this was just a kind of basic aluminum stamped ordeal and machined. It's not very high quality, and it's only an M3, which, like I said, for those of you who are familiar, it's very tiny. It's about the width of the lead and wooden pencil. When you shave the wood off, you know, it's about that size. So anyway, so once you get that screw out there, you then have to take, give me 1 second, I'm going to remove this case from my desk here so we can use my desk better, because it keeps sliding around because I have some things on the wall here. Now then, I'm going to also open up the bipod so I can use some stability here. What I also like about this gun, it has a rear monopod that swings down from the actual buttstock for better support. I found this thing mostly useful so far in simply staging the weapon for storage purposes or so on and so forth. So I'm going to bring the camera over here so you can kind of see what I'm doing maybe a little better. I know, I'm sorry, this is a really crappy quality video. It's my first YouTube, so bear with me. Maybe more in the future, who knows. If I can get this to stop. Maybe put a rubber band in here. Not quite. I should get my phone case that has a prop on it. If I could figure out a way to stabilize this, that would be nice. Do I want to do that? Can you guys see? I don't know. Yeah, okay. I guess that works. I can't see it too well because I have a stapler thing in the way, but anyway, so that being said, this piece here, this piece here has to come out. So what you want to do, hold on to the bolt handle and pry it out there. So this piece here, this piece will actually slip into the bolt. I'll show you where. All right, so this is going to hold the bolt in place. Next, you want to take the bolt itself. Now you want to have the stock all the way back, otherwise you're not going to be able to get this out properly. And simply pull. You're going to have to wiggle it around a bit. Now this here stays on the bolt. This is part of the retaining system, so you're going to want to make sure you hold on to this. We'll show you what to do with this in a minute. But for now, just consider it a part that falls out. So you pull the whole bolt itself out, and here you go. Now, these are the two screws I was talking about, here and here. These are my own design. They're the same factory design, but I had to do this myself because one of the screws, the threads inside this top part here did not agree with me. They were poorly machined, and I had to take it upon myself to rectify that situation. So let me get my Allen key. So here's where I take my second smaller Allen key. Now what I did was I had to go one step up. As I mentioned, the last bolt, the factory one, was an M3 size. This one is an M4. It's a little thicker. It's one step up. So what you do is you take these two out, and I'll show you what I was talking about for those who are not familiar with bolt sizes. Once I get it out, they're a little long. So what I had to do, hopefully you don't have this issue. There is a slight possibility you might. These screws here, they go in and they hold this section, which this can be taken off, this whole section here, and you have a threaded cap here. I don't see a need to take it off. I can do all this with this being attached. So there's no real need to take it off, but you can if you want to. It just makes it more of a hassle in my opinion. Now when you get this final screw out, it's going, there's a spring in here. So you're going to want to keep a little pressure on it to make sure that it doesn't all pop out at you. Okay, so that second screw is out. There you go. Now, like I said, here's the upper piece. This is, like I said, the part I had an issue with. So what happens here is you have an outer bolt carrier and an inner bolt carrier. The outer bolt carrier was fine. I had no issues with it. It was this part of the inner bolt carrier that I had an issue with. So what happened was there were two smaller versions of this. I don't know if I can get it to focus on this or not. I'm using my phone here. Okay, the lighting isn't good. But anyway, here you have a slot for the Allen key in the head of the screw. And the screws that were in there were poor quality. And I just had bad luck with it. The threading wasn't right somewhere, and it cross-threaded inside when I had it lined up properly. I'm also a hobbyist mechanic, so I'm not going to just sit there and willy-nilly put a bolt in. It's just not how I work. So what I had to do was I had to go to Home Depot. I had to get a tap and drill kit for small bolts, which I found everything I needed at Home Depot. It cost me like $30-something total. And when you're trying to save face for an $800 or $600 gun system, it's worth it to do so. So what I ended up having to do was I drilled into this to make it the one size bigger. It's the two screws share the same single hole, so it just naturally goes all the way through. All I had to do was take the drill bit and drill straight through this whole piece here. And then I took the threading kit or tap kit and I put new threads in here. Then I had to take the outer carrier here and drill bigger holes into it. So anyway, once you get this cap piece off, now that I've gone over my whole bolt fiasco, you have this piece here. We're going to need to pay attention to this. All right, but that comes in a minute. Then you have spring here. Then you have the inner bolt carrier. Now right now this is actually loaded with active CO2, so I'm not going to take this apart. However, I will show you how to take it apart. All you have to do is take a sturdy, probably thicker than this one. This is the small one, so I wouldn't use that. But in order to get the best grip on it, you're going to want to put some kind of an Allen key through there and just use that as leverage and twist it off. Once you do that, you will have access to the CO2 cartridge, 12-ounce CO2 cartridge directly inside of here. So now all we have to do is reverse the process. So you put the CO2 back on, you tighten it down, whatever you got to do. And then this will go in first. So you have a nozzle here. This nozzle goes in the same end of this nozzle. Okay? So you slide that in like so. Then you take your spring, put that in. Now, here's where you got to pay attention to a few things. See this channel in here? First, this notch has to go inside of that spring. Okay? Then you want that channel to line up with these bolt holes on the outer carrier. Okay, so you need it to line up like so. See that? Because it's going to go down in there. And this is what this is going to line up with to retain. Okay? So it's going to retain itself. Let's get it at a good angle here. Kind of like that. Similar to this. Okay, so that's how you want it to go, but not quite this, obviously. So we still have some assembly we need to do here. So once you get all that on, you put the handle back on and thread these little screws back in. I would highly suggest hand threading them in first to avoid any mishaps that
Maybe it was my fault, but I highly doubt it was. So always start by hand threading if possible. They were a little tight, so like I said, I feel it was just poor manufacturing. But this is all done by an assembly line, so I could have just gotten a bad batch. And instead of waiting over a month or so for warranty to take care of it and replace my bolt carrier and all that stuff, I decided to take it upon myself and improve the design. Like I said, I didn't improve the design itself. All I did was replace it with better parts, and you know, I made sure the threads were proper and cleaned before I did anything. So once you get that back together, you have now successfully put the CO2 in the bolt, and now we just have a couple more steps and we're done. Overall, this gun is really, really powerful. I haven't gotten to chrono it yet. I did manage to take it out to the field, but I did not get to use it as I was... I used one whole CO2 cartridge, which was the first one this gun had seen. I used that one to try to adjust hop up and so on and so forth, and I wasn't quite done, but I thought it was ready for field use. So I got to replace CO2 cartridge, and that happened. So I did not actually get to take it out to the field. I did not get to chrono it. But now when you're assembling this, all right, one thing I forgot. This piece that I mentioned earlier, all right, you have two slots on the outer bolt carrier. You have a one that's a little lower from the top, and then one that's a little higher to the top. All right, so the one that's higher to the top, you're going to notice that we have that top piece that I mentioned that has to have that slit, okay? You want to take this, you have the head of the carrier here with the handle. Take this curve and just place it there. All right, you're going to have a groove on here that allows for it to grip here and not slide off. Okay, so you want to put that there. I try to have it to the back. You have to move to the back. It can be finicky. It's going to take you a little bit of shaking and wiggling and moving this back and forth on the slide, but it's worth it. Okay, so you get that in there. There is a channel on the bolt there. Right, I don't know if you can see it with my hand in the way, but you have right here, you have a slot for that piece to go in. I just have to find where I put that piece. There we go. So you put this facing forward like so. Now as you are getting ready to insert, see if I can get this to work. There we go. That's much better. Now I can see what you're seeing. You get ready to put this in, and in order to fully get this in, you have to pull the trigger and slide that in. Yeah, I know I had to do that with my chin, but sorry. And then you line that back up, and you just press it in. Now you're essentially almost ready. Now what we have to do is we have to see if we can get this here. There we go. That's sitting a lot better. I should do that next time if I do another one. Now you have that piece there. Oh, I put that in wrong. Shit. My apologies. I'm doing an informational video and I'm screwing it up. Remember, the curve goes to the head. Okay? Remember that. I screwed up. Don't listen to me. Do listen to me. Or, anyway, I digress. So you put that in there. Get that in. Next, we need to move this as far back as possible. So I found it helps if you stick your Allen key or something in there. Pull the bolt forward a bit, if you can. And that'll help kind of slide it back a little bit. Because we need to be able to get this piece in there. So you have the hole for the bolt that goes in there, and that is right there. So you need to get that to line up. Okay. Now you need to press the bolt in as far as you can. It's a little hard to do it at this angle. There we go. Almost there. we go. And now, to avoid undue stress on this screw, once I find it, where'd it go? I just had it up here. Okay, somehow it fell in the case of the gun that was on the floor. Anyway, now to avoid any undue stress onto this, you're going to want to press this in with your finger. And like I said, you want to start hand threading to make sure that you don't accidentally cross thread. Cross thread is bad, and that requires a lot of stress and work that I promise you do not want to deal with. Let me get my other Allen key. There it is. So, in reality, it actually takes a lot less time to do this than I've made it seem. I know this is a long video, and thank you for being patient. But overall, this gun is worth it, and this process takes a lot less time than I'm making it seem. I just tried to take it step by step, so you guys could have an understanding of what's going on. Okay, so overall, this gun is amazing. All right, and now you've successfully changed out the bolt. So, if you have any questions about this gun that I have not mentioned, anything I've missed, shoot me a message, shoot me a comment, like, whatever. I wouldn't say subscribe yet, just because I don't really have any content. So, anything else, just shoot me a message, make a comment, like, whatever you want to do. Have a good one, guys. Make sure you're staying safe when you're playing airsoft at all times. Have a good one.